On this episode of Game Shack, it's my 3-year review of Return to Dark Tower. Is this the greatest D&D one-shot of all time? Kinda. Let's talk all about it. Coming up next. 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 Hey everybody, welcome on back into the Game Shack. I'm your host, JDV for Evil Genius Entertainment. If this is your first time to the channel, thanks for stopping by. And if you're a regular, hey, thanks for sticking with us. All right, so I picked this game up 3 years ago, and that's partly because I own the original Dark Tower, and I love that game. And a lot of people were really looking forward to Return from Dark Tower when it did debut 3 years ago from Restoration Games. They, of course, kind of go back and take old games and give them new life. But this is a from-scratch sort of invention that they made right from the ground up. Everything to do from the rule set to how the tower works to everything about it is brand new from scratch. And that kind of upset some people, I think, because they want to see the original game just a reprint of it. That's not what this is. Bottom line is, I love this game. I've played it dozens of times with my friends. We've had a real blast with it. I'd argue it's one of the great cooperative board games of all time, maybe the greatest cooperative game of all time. And really what this thing does, in combination with using a tablet which kind of runs the app, which is actually pretty slick once you get used to it, is D&D in a box. The tower and the app sort of take the place of a DM. And that's really cool when you don't have a DM or your DM doesn't want to game that month or whatever. It really does offer you a nice taste of fantasy gaming, offers you a way to kind of advance your character by flipping over attributes, buying equipment, fighting boss monsters, gives you treasure, things like that. You can go through tombs, every kind of thing that you'd expect in D&D. You can pretty much do in Dark Tower. So we played this game about a month ago, and it occurred to me while we were doing it that it really is a stand-in for a D&D one-shot. Now, if you're not familiar with what a one-shot is in D&D, basically it is an adventure that you are supposed to be able to get done in one gaming session. Now, depending on how long you guys normally run your sessions, usually ours are around 5-6 hours. So I think most people's are from 4 to 6 hours. If you can get your game in 1 or 2 of those sessions, that's considered a one-shot. Now, normally people will either use pre-generated characters or roll up new characters just for that one-shot. I've kind of combined the idea of a one-shot with a one-page, and what we do is we keep campaigning with established characters. I just change the monsters depending on the one-shot and either amp them up or dumb them down, but they still get to role play. They still get to play a consistent adventure. It's just a little bit more on rails than it used to be, because that way you don't have to prep so much. The one-shot, one-page adventure allows DMs a chance to prepare relatively quickly and still have a fairly detailed, fun time for one night. And that is really what Return to Dark Tower does, is you could pick from one of several different characters. I bought all the expansion packs, so I got every character you can get. You can probably find the PDFs of them now online and print them up on cardstock. Really all you need is the original set. I did get the Horde that has 3D printed monsters, which are great if you have a chance to pick those up. There are 2 other expansion sets so far. I hope they come out with more. And anyway, they give you different types of characters that kind of expand what characters can do. But essentially, it's a one-shot in that your characters really don't advance that much in any one game of Dark Tower, and they don't continue from game to game. So unlike a game like Pericles, say, what you do in that one adventure is what you do. In other words, you don't get to keep the treasures or the potions or attributes that you flip over after you have spent your spirit to kind of go up level, which is how the game deals with going up level. You don't get to do that from game to game. It's all encapsulated one game. You have one chance to beat whatever monster it is, and you can either pick out the monster or have the game pick it out for you randomly. But in any event, it is what it is. You either beat that monster, that chosen foe, or you don't. Either way, that's it. It doesn't continue on from game to game, which is basically what a D&D one-shot is, right? There's other stuff to love about the game, like when you drop a skull in to end your turn, sometimes events will happen and require you to pull up the doors. Sometimes skulls will come out of the game. Again, in the variants that you can buy, the expansion packs, you can get different colored skulls, which will have different effects. Sometimes we add those in, sometimes we don't. The game really does lend itself to having house rules. We tend to play by the book, and if we kind of deviate from the rules, we make it harder on ourselves, not easier. You can play on a gritty level, which we haven't done. We just kind of play the straight standard version. And again, we've played through many scenarios of this game, and it really does give you hundreds of hours of fantasy gaming in the vein of D&D, but without having to have that DM. And that is a huge thing if you are the DM for your group, because no matter who you are, you will get DM exhausted eventually, because it is a lot of work to prep a game, particularly if you're like me and you hand build the dungeon from scratch. Then that's a whole lot of work. So the bottom line is, it's a fantastic product. I love this game. Again, I bought all of these myself. No one, from Restoration Games sent me anything like that. It doesn't matter. I give reviews, I shoot you straight either way. But I would spend my own hard-earned money on this product again. Absolutely. If this got ran over or stolen or broke, I would absolutely buy it again. A little bit about reliability before I go, and this has never malfunctioned, not one time. The only thing that can happen, of course, is that the batteries will die. Well, when it does that, the tablet will warn you to change your batteries out. And because of that, we've never had this game run out of batteries during the game except one time. And that was actually like a couple of months ago. And so we changed out the batteries real quick anyway, and it came right back and remembered everything where we were. So we've never lost a game. This thing's never jammed. We've never lost a skull. It has always worked perfectly. And that is something, of course, that you cannot say about the original Dark Tower game, which is part of the reason why they're so expensive and hard to find now, is because they broke relatively easily. And you always had to have big ass, beefy double D batteries in it. And if those batteries ran out halfway through the game, your game was lost. So if you have an interest in having a one-shot D&D type feel adventure where your characters really aren't going to advance that far, but you get to battle a whole lot of fantasy type monsters and you get to cooperate with your friends, although there is a mode where you can compete against each other. We've never played that mode. We always play co-op because it's so much fun, and realistically the game is relatively hard enough that you need to have everybody on the same page to defeat some of these bigger boss monsters. It's just a lot of fun. If you ever have a chance to play it with somebody or pick it up if it's on sale, I really highly recommend Return to Dark Tower. It is a great D&D stand-in type game. All right, well, if you like this kind of content, please let me know down below if you have any questions or comments. Again, I love talking to you guys. Best audience in the internet. Love each other, and until next time, I'll see you guys here in the Game Shack. Mwah! See you later, guys.
Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much more.